Before we jump into today's math problem, let's take a brief moment to relax and focus on our breathing and gently close your eyes. Breathe in deeply through your nose. And exhale slowly also through your nose. With your next deep inhale, notice your lungs filling. Exhale slowly through your nose. On the next inhale through your nose, same thing, feel your lungs filling. And as you exhale, feel tension in your body release. One last deep inhale through your nose. And exhale slowly through your nose, and then gently open your eyes. This multiple choice problem comes from the College Board. It's from section 4 of the SAT test, which does not allow calculators. And the problem says, the table above shows some values of the linear function f. Which of the following defines f? So take a minute or so to give this a try. It's okay if you're not sure how to approach this problem. You can even just take a guess. And then in about 1 minute, we'll have a look at it together. In this problem, I'm going to actually show you 3 different strategies, and each of them involves looking at clues. So we can think of the table of values as x represented by the n values and y represented by the f of n values. And if you notice in our answer choices, they're all in the format of y equals some number times x, and then subtracting a value from that. So for whatever the correct equation is, all of the pairs in the table will be true in that equation. So I can test the pairs, and if a pair of values does not work in an equation, then I know I can eliminate the equation. Let's look at this first pair, 1, -2. So I'm going to take 1 for the value of n and see whether that equals -2. Well, 1 minus 3 is -2 in the first equation, so A seems viable. And then let's look at the second equation. I have 2 times 1, which is 2, minus 4, which is -2. So B is still a good candidate. And then for C, I have 3 times 1, which is 3, minus 5, which is -2. So 3 is viable. And then in D, I have 4 times 1, which is 4, minus 6, which is -2. So 1, -2 works in all 4 of those equations. And that pair didn't give me a lot of insight into what the correct answer is. So we just keep working through the table. And you can see that this is pretty simple because I can just do these in my head. I'm writing them out so you'll see what I am computing. So let's look at the second value. So I have 2 for n or x, and I want to see if when I substitute that in, whether I get a value of 1. So 2 minus 3 in the first equation is negative 1, and that's not equal to positive 1. So I can eliminate equation A. Let's look at B. If I substitute 2 in for n, I have 2 times 2, which is 4, minus 4, which is 0, and that's not equal to 1. So I can eliminate equation B. Let's look at C. So 3 times 2 is 6, minus 5 is 1, which is what I wanted, so C is viable. And let's look at D. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 6 is 2. So D is not viable. So from that substitution of the ordered pair 2, 1, I see that only answer C works. So C must be the answer. So that's the strategy of testing values and using whether or not they work in the equations as a strategy for eliminating incorrect choices. Now let's look at a second strategy. You may be aware of lines that have equations in the format of y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And I mentioned that we can think of the first row of values, or n, as the x value, and the second row of values as y. And then you'll notice that all of these equations are in the format of y equals mx plus b. So the second strategy involves looking at slope. What do you notice about the difference here? That's 1. The difference here is 1. Difference here is 1. So the table is growing in increments of the x value growing by 1. Notice that the difference in the y values is 3. So every time I go up by 1 in an x value, the y value goes up by 3. So that means the slope is equal to 3. And I can test that out. So let's say I wanted to look at these two pairs of values, right? I have rise over run. So the rise is going to be 7 minus 4, that's the second row, over the run, which is 4 minus 3, which is 3 over 1, which is 3. So you see in two different ways that the slope is going to be 3, and I could have taken any other pair and done the rise over run. Well, there's only one equation that has a slope of 3. So I know that the answer must be C. All of the other answers have slopes that are not equal to 3. So that was the second strategy, which is analyzing slope. Now let's look at a third strategy, and it involves analyzing the y-intercept. So I think this is the strategy that I like the best when working with linear equations, because the y-intercept is a great piece of data to look at, not only because I can see it in an equation if it's in the slope-intercept form, but also because I can look at a graph, and wherever it crosses the y-axis is the y-intercept. It's also where the x value is equal to 0, so I can substitute 0 in really easily for x and then quickly find the y-intercept. So look at this table. If I were to insert another column, the next value in the first row would be 0, right? Because that's going to continue the pattern of going up by 1. Similarly, the difference between each of the values in the bottom row, or the y value, is 3. The y value is going to be 3 less than negative 2. So what would that be? That would be negative 5. right? So that holds the pattern. And if x is equal to 0 and y is equal to -5, that means that -5 must be the y-intercept. Well, there's only one equation that has -5 as the y-intercept. So at that point, I automatically know that C is the right answer as well. I hope you enjoyed seeing these strategies. I know this video went on a little bit long, but I wanted to show you that you can look at clues in the problem to use a variety of strategies for eliminating answer choices and zeroing in on what the correct one is. And none of these involved our having to actually generate the equation of the line and then matching one of the answers to what we generated. If you have any follow-up questions or if you have any requests or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you subscribe to this channel, you'll be notified of new videos as they're posted. I enjoyed working together, and I look forward to seeing you next time.